Dangerous Divas podcast. We've got another episode here, but today we're going to talk about strength training and proper nutrition with Marci Nevin. Am I saying it right?
You are.
Okay.
Well done.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to give it a little bit of an intro first, and then you can add on to that. So Marci is actually a fitness and nutrition coach based out of Northern California. For the past 12 years, she's worked with clients, in person and online. Oh, we've got that echo.
Oh,
yeah.
I've got to say hi to my friend Mo, who just joined. Hi, Mo.
I turned down my volume, and so now she's working with her. She has worked with in person and clients online as well. She helps them embrace a love for strength training, which is absolutely amazing because once you fall in love with it, it's the best. And then she also teaches, how to use proper nutrition to fuel their bodies with optimal health, performance, and the most important one, I think, in my opinion, body composition. And then actually she's overcome an eating disorder and over exercising, which we're going to talk about. And she believes now that proper nutrition and intelligent strength training coupled with stress management, which is huge, and daily mindset practices are the foundation of people becoming their best and most confident self. And now, as you can tell, she's very passionate about her teaching with these tools to help them overcome their struggles and then, have the confidence to live fully and pursue their purpose, which I was just writing about that today. That's funny. You can find her on Instagram, Marci Nevin, or listen to her podcast called Decades of Strength on iTunes, which I'm definitely going to check out.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
How are you today?
I am well. How are you doing?
Great. I'm excited to learn a little bit about you and everything because I've checked out your profile and there's a lot to learn. So.
Oh yeah, I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
There's a lot to learn.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to add anything to what I introduced you with?
No, I think you nailed it. That's pretty much it.
Cool. All right. So I guess we're going to get right into it. Before we get started with any specific questions, I want to ask you today, what made you start coaching other people 12 years ago?
Oh gosh. Well, so a little bit about my story, my background, before I get into that, because it's an evolution. It all kind of flows together.
100%.
And no one believes me when I say this, but it really is the truth. When I was younger, I was a little bit overweight. So a very active kid. I played all of the sports, but I didn't know anything about proper nutrition. I think my parents were doing the best that they could, but I definitely started to gain a little bit of weight, probably when I was, I don't remember exactly, like 10, 11, 12, like somewhere in there. And I just became really self-conscious. So I began working out. That's really like all I knew to do and this is really going to date me here. I'm 38 at the end of the month, but my mom's like Kathy Smith workout VHS tapes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
Cool. I don't remember that because I didn't grow up in the US, but
that's right.
Tape for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that was very old school. And I was just doing those to the best of my ability, not making any progress whatsoever, very frustrated. Then I started asking my mom for nutrition advice, and she was on the cabbage soup diet. She was like doing all those things. And I would join along for a period of time and then realize like, nope, this isn't working either. And continue to ask her for help. And she's like, oh, eat low fat, eat low sugar, but nothing was really working because, no calorie deficit. It was crazy. Like I would get on the low fat bandwagon and I was eating a packet of Skittles every day in my high school Spanish class. And then I would go to lunch and have a frozen yogurt the size of my head with chocolate sprinkles. I mean, probably 300 grams of carbs, like in the matter of 2 hours. So anyway, before that, I did start losing a little bit of weight because I joined Weight Watchers my freshman year of high school. And I had started going to the gym a little bit before that with my mom. We were taking step classes, doing that kind of thing, but I really was not strength training at the time. And I don't even remember how it happened, but I think like freshman or sophomore year of high school, I started to lift. So I had gotten into a relationship. I had a boyfriend, and he and I would go to the gym and we would run on the treadmill and lift weights and do all the things. And we would drink like Slim Fast shakes together. It was just crazy. Because I didn't really know any better. And I was following along with some of the information that I was finding in fitness magazines. That was fine. And then my senior year of high school is when things, I would say, picked up a little bit. And you're probably not familiar with this book either, but there was a book called Body for Life. And it was written by this guy, Bill Phillips, who was the CEO of a company called EAS. I don't even think EAS is around anymore, but it was a good starting place. And around that time, it was very much the clean eating era. So 5 or 6 small meals per day, chicken, rice, broccoli, that kind of thing. So I was in a sports medicine class my senior year. And one of the things that we had to do was like read this book, apply this book. So she was trying to teach us about proper nutrition, proper exercise. To be honest with you, that's probably like the best thing that I took away from high school was, like the information. I mean, it definitely was not perfect, but it was very much a start in the right direction. So I began doing more proper resistance training, interval training, and then really like cleaning up my diet, for lack of a better word. And I started to make some really great progress. So I was feeling a lot better about myself. And then I went to college, and that's where things got a little bit dicey. And I really again, it wasn't really for lack of not my knowledge, but I was just doing what I was finding in the magazines. And essentially it was like a competition prep, right? So go to the gym and do 45 minutes of cardio, eat these, really restrictive meals, go back and lift weights and do more cardio. So I just wanted to look like the women on the magazine. And so I was doing what I thought I needed to do, but I think it developed a very like restrictive mindset. So and that's really where I don't want to say it was like a full-blown eating disorder, but definitely disordered eating mentality. And then same thing, like exercise obsession. So that got me into some pretty deep waters, for lack of a better word, and really impacted my health. I lost my joke is most people go to college and they gain the freshman 15. I lost the freshman 15. But I was like 95 pounds, right? So it was not a good thing.
It was not.
Yeah. So that was not a good way to go about it, but I just didn't know any better. And I was so passionate about health and fitness at the time that I wanted to get my personal training certification. So I got NASM certified when I was a junior in college, thinking that, oh, I can do this for the rest of school, like a side job.
Right.
I'll have it. Yeah, like I'll have it if I am ever in between careers one day, but it was never what I thought I was going to do for a full-time job. So I was actually going to school for journalism. I wanted to write for one of these fitness magazines. And as I was going through the program, I'm like, no, I don't really think this is it. I don't want to, be on someone else's schedule, sit behind a desk all day, be on these deadlines. So I decided that I wanted to go into outside sales. And that is where I started my career. And then I got fired from my second sales job. And I was like, well, got to figure out what I'm going to do until, I find my next, my next career step.
Yeah.
So I got a job as a trainer at a gym that my brother had been working out at. And thought that it was going to be a temporary thing. And 12 years later, here I am. Well, I'm not working in the gym anymore because when COVID happened, the gym shut down overnight. So I went from a pretty much full load of clients in the gym to nothing with, no warning. Thank God I had been building my online business slowly before that, because I never liked the online or the in-person thing. It was just one of those situations where I didn't really know how to get out of it. I didn't know what else I wanted to do. I felt like I didn't have any skills anymore. Right. So I just stayed, and I was pretty much miserable the whole time. But then I started to notice that, okay, people are going online. I hired my first business mentor, and really the rest is history. And now here I am. So
So
that's kind of like that's the evolution of how I got into training or coaching. I don't want to say I fell into it, but it was not the path that I thought I had outlined for myself.
I think it was not a path for a lot of people. Like I went to business school, probably the worst 4 years of my life. Just like not a bad experience, but like a waste of time. Right? Like I didn't learn anything whatsoever. And I have a degree that I've never used in my entire life. Because I'm an entrepreneur at heart. My parents both own businesses, so it's just a part of me. And we own a gym locally, so I could kind of just went into that. And then, like you said, COVID happened. It was like, oh crap, like, okay, this online thing is actually pretty serious. And who needs help counting their reps? Like, seriously.
Right. It was mind numbing, right?
Right.
I can't do this for another minute.
Yeah. And I still get to this day some people that are like, I'd rather do online, in person. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, you want somebody counting for you? Because when we're in person, we cannot do all the things that we do online, because online is not as restricted. So anyways.
Yeah, we only have so much time with people, for sure. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I had some really wonderful clients that I developed great relationships with, people who I still talk to this day. So it wasn't all bad. It's just, I knew that I could not keep it up forever. And then the schedule too, because a lot of people, they want to work out before work, they want to work out after work. So yeah, very early days in the gym, working Saturdays, working holidays, like, no.
No thanks. I agree. And now you've been fully online for a couple of years?
Yeah, I would say I've been fully online since March of 2020 when my gym shut down. Yeah, I had to make the leap.
Yeah, and it was the best sleep ever.
Best sleep ever. I mean, scary, I was like, am I going to be able to make this work? But I have.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. So with all the experience that you have and how long you've been training for, I mean, definitely longer than me. What's a commonly held belief about strength training and proper nutrition that you passionately disagree with?
Proper nutrition, I think, is difficult to say, but when it comes to strength training, especially for women, that strength training is going to make women big and bulky. And I was like, I've been strength training for 20 years. I'm still trying to get big and bulky.
I know, me too.
It has not happened yet by any means. Now, I will say this. So what my definition of that is going to be very different from someone else's. So a woman might look at me and I don't think I have a whole lot of muscle, and she might say, oh, wow, like she's too muscular for my preference.
Right.
But that also takes a very long time. So for most people, I mean, yes, there are the genetic freaks who are, they don't even, I have clients who literally have never picked up a weight in their life and they have more muscle than I do. So, right. So like, I will admit that can be a thing, but for the majority, it is not. So you are not going to go into the gym and after a couple of weeks or even a couple of months, blow up, gain all this muscle. And now you're like, what have I done?
Yeah, I agree. And I think when I was in my biggest bulk, that I was the heaviest, it was honestly just the food, because I'm working out the exact same workouts that I was doing there.
Yeah.
It's just, I ate so much more food to the point that it was disgusting. But
well, and that happened to me too. So back in 2017, I've told the story so many times, so I apologize for anyone who might have be hearing it again. I decided that I wanted to try powerlifting, not compete, but go to a powerlifting type gym. So my boyfriend at the time was a very competitive power lifter. Like, I mean, the guy squatted 1,000 pounds, he deadlifted 800. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, I want a piece of that. So I show up to the gym. I had to be interviewed. Yeah, it was crazy. And
this part of the gym.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was this 2-hour interview process. And The coach knew, I think, a little bit about me and my history, like my disordered eating things. And he was like, he looked at me, he's like, you are going to have to put on weight in order to train here. Hold on, I'm getting like so much feedback. I'm gonna
Just lower the volume on your phone. There you
It like keeps going in and out. All right. So he's like, yeah, you're going to have to gain weight if you want to train here. And it's not going to be any of this like 1 pound per month bullshit that I know you're going to try to pull. You're going to gain as much weight as I tell you to in the amount of time that I tell you to gain it. And if not, then, well, we're going to kick you out. So talk about, I mean, one, like toxic environment, two, so stressful. You know, I mean, because like, let's be honest, I still had some, I think, body image stuff going on where it's like, okay, I've been able to control my weight. I'm comfortable with how I look. And now this guy who hardly knows me is going to tell me how much weight I have to gain. It was crazy. So, but I was like, yes, sir, I'll do whatever you say.
Right.
So I had to weigh myself like every time that I went there and, you know, like, are you on track? Nope, you got to. So I had to eat a lot. And I think I gained 15 pounds in like less than 3 months.
Ooh, that's a lot more than me. I gained 10 or 15 pounds in like 6 months.
Yeah, so it was fast. And that's what I said, you know, like, and I put up a post about this before on Instagram where I said, you know, just so you know, I gained more weight than I ever have training harder than I ever have. Like I trained so hard when I was there, like lifting very heavy, like these crazy metabolic conditioning circuits. I was still an in-person trainer, so on my feet a lot, you know, going for walks, doing all the things, and I still gained weight. So I guess maybe that's a nutrition myth is, yeah, like you have to count your calories.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a lot. I did a bodybuilding event. Well, now it's last year, and I was in 2020. I was, you know, bulking to then cut down, and I think one of the biggest thing was like eating so much and working out so much that it's disgusting, and it's not enjoyable anymore. Like it's not fun.
No.
Whatsoever. And that's where, you know, we struggle with food and being so restricted. Like since then, for me to get back on a meal plan is not going to be possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
yeah, it's like dieting PTSD.
It is like when somebody's like, "You got a meal prep," I'm like, no, not again.
I don't even remember the last time I meal prepped.
We went, believe it or not, we went for a very good friend's wedding all the way to California. We're in Florida with 16 Tupperwares in a luggage.
Oh my gosh, no.
Yep, and that was the most miserable trip ever because everybody was drinking and enjoying life, you know, celebrating a wedding and having a blast. And then here we are eating cold food,
like fish and
supposed to be hot, like sausages and fish and chicken.
Oh.
And it was miserable. So
that is miserable. So were you like actually in prep when you were on that trip?
So I was actually bulking. So
you're bulking.
I was bulking.
You could have eaten whatever you wanted. You didn't have to prep that food.
Well, that's where I learned after that I could have eaten whatever I wanted.
Yeah. I know. When you know better, you do better, right?
Right. And then when there's a coach going, this is what you're going to eat, I'm very like, all right, well, if I want the best results, I got to follow what he says, right? He's the guy. And yeah, it was very interesting. And then by the time I had to cut down, I was done with it. Like peak week came around and I was just like, I don't want to do this. Like I'm doing it because I made all this work, but right now I don't want to be here. I don't want to step on the stage. I'm too tired for this.
Yeah.
Overtraining, under eating at that point, right? Like I was eating maybe 900 calories a day.
Oh my gosh.
I went from like 2,700 to 900 calories in 3 months period, but still a lot.
That's great. Well, and here's like another myth that I think goes around these days because reverse dieting has become so popular. And people think that they can reverse diet up to this really high amount of calories, and then they're somehow going to be able to diet down on even more. And that is not necessarily the case, especially for someone who has an adaptive metabolism. So I definitely still do have an adaptive metabolism because of all the damage that I have done, you know, from prior dieting escapades in college and even like in my early 20s. So I got my calories up to probably, you know, like around the 2000 range, I would say, like at the end of that powerlifting competition or powerlifting experience. And then I left, I walked out one day and I was like, I'm never coming back here. And oh, it was great. And 6 months later, I hired my now coach, and I hired him really to do to support me with some health issues that I had had, also as a result of the chronic dieting and over exercising. So I took care of that pretty quickly, like the gut health issues. And then he allowed me to go back into a fat loss phase. So the weight, I will say, because I had been in maintenance for a very long time and I'm super consistent, like, let's be honest. The weight just fell off, like it just like came like boom, boom, boom. And he was like, wow, like you're making really good progress. Do you want to push to see how far you can take this? Like maybe treat it like a competition prep. And I was like, let's go, you know, I didn't want to step on stage. I didn't want to do the posing or anything like that. But yeah, so we pushed it pretty hard. And I think I got down to around like 11 to 1200. And I'm a small person. Like I didn't really, like when he said that, I was probably like 110 maybe. So yeah, like I needed lower calories, but I see people, some women who are preaching like, oh, I'm dieting on 2200 calories. And I do the math and it's like 16 times body weight. I was like 16 times body weight, like makes me gain weight really quickly. So everybody is so different, you know, and it just 100%. Dieting history really makes a difference.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things people don't understand. It's like when they first start out these myths, like eat 1200 calories, like they don't understand that it's not going to work for everybody at all whatsoever. And then when it doesn't work, they're like, oh my gosh, it didn't work. Like, yeah, I told you it wasn't going to work.
Right.
Like it's not for everybody, like keto, paleo, whatever you want to do, you know, counting calories, macros, like it's not going to be for everybody, and everybody's going to be different. We are born different, right? Or else it would be so easy.
I know.
So once you overcame that whole like being super restrictive and, if you want to call it disorder, and over exercising, probably working out like every single day without rest, can you tell us like how you realized it wasn't good for you, and then how did you manage to get your health back? You kind
of so actually I hired an online coach. So let's see, I was probably like still not like in the thick of it, but I was coming out of it in college, because actually what happened was my sorority sisters, like, so my close group of friends in my sorority, they noticed how much weight I was losing. They were noticing like my kind of weird eating habits, and they essentially like staged an intervention with me. Like, you know, we see what's going on here. Yeah. I mean, like it didn't feel good at the time, but I was like, I was a junior in college and I didn't want to go through the rest of my college experience having my friends not want to hang out with me because of this. So I went to a nutritionist and was really trying to like kind of break out of that mentality. So I think by the time I graduated, I weighed around like 108, which for my frame was like, it was like a healthy weight. Like, I think I looked good. I was in a better place for sure. And then a couple years after that, I hired my first online coach, because I was still in like the clean eating mentality. So I was eating more. I wasn't quite as obsessive, but still like going to the gym every morning to do my 45 minutes of cardio before work, coming back to lift at night. Like you said, because I was in outside sales. So I had to like drive around. I was selling coffee machines. I had to like drive around to cold call these businesses. So yeah, I was doing all the meal prep and it was awful. But I hired a coach when I was 24, I think, and he did put me on a meal plan. But that meal plan, it did teach me flexible dieting, because I was able to, he had like this food substitution calculator. So you could go online. I still use it to this day, 10 years later. But like, let's say I had chicken breast on my plan. I'm like, I don't want to eat chicken breast today. I would go into the calculator and put in how much was on my meal plan, and then it would come up with a substitution. So I was like, oh, look, like I can eat different things and still make progress. I got ripped on that program. Like I
That's awesome.
lost, yeah. And then the other thing too was my plan had foods that I was still maybe a little bit afraid of because of where I had been previously. So
Oh, I feel you.
things
I have egg white.
like oatmeal, potatoes,
Oatmeal,
fruit.
oatmeal, egg whites. I will never eat again.
Oh, I love oatmeal and egg whites. But and then
Oh,
post-workout. So post-workout, we were allowed to have any type of carbohydrate that we wanted, so long that it was low fat and it fit in the allotted amount of grams. So I was, eating the frozen yogurt, I was eating candy, I was eating sugary cereal. And then
yeah.
I was making progress. I was like, oh my gosh, there's something to this, right? So that's really what got me away from the good food, bad food, clean, not clean, and and turned me into the flexible dieting mindset, or turned me on to it, I should say. And then he really reduced my cardio. So it was 4 to 5 days of lifting, and then not doing a whole lot of cardio, like until the end of the fat loss phase. So I was like,
I
wow.
feel you. I hate cardio.
Oh, I haven't done cardio for a year.
Yeah, I do.
I keep telling myself I'm going to do it. I'm like, today's the day. Nope.
I do boxing instead of cardio.
Oh, that's fun.
So I just box instead. So I just use that as my cardio workout in some ways. But I don't go on walks and bike rides anymore. Like I think I was scarred for life.
Oh, okay. So I do love to walk. I go for walks every single day. It's kind of like part of my mental health, but I haven't stepped on a treadmill or a step mill or anything like that in about a year.
Yeah, the Hellmaster. Yeah, that
The
guy.
Hellmaster.
The
Yeah.
Hellmaster. Oh gosh, that thing was
Oh,
my.
like I said, it can be traumatic for sure.
It is. And one of the things that you said, like switching out the foods, I feel like this is what I do with my clients actually. I give out meal plans, but I'm like, no, like don't follow it to the T.
Mm-hmm.
Go and have fun, and then they have a swap option with like 100 different options that they could swap out for. And I think that this is where you learn like there's no bad food or clean food. Obviously there's some better, right? Like you're not gonna live off pizza and ice cream forever,
For
but
sure.
like there's no such thing as bad and good. It's like everything is okay as long as you don't mess up too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that what I call like the structured flexibility.
There you go. I like that. That's a good one.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you know like what is expected, but also you could kind of have fun with it.
Right. Yes. And now I don't do meal plans for my clients. I have them use macros, but that's structured flexibility as well, because you have the structure of, right, here's how much you need to eat, calories, protein, carbs, fats, whatever. But then you get to choose whatever foods that you want, within reason to fit into those numbers.
Yeah, I just feel like at least for me, when I started doing macros, it was very confusing. Especially coming off a meal plan, and it was just like, here's your macros, like, okay, but what's okay, what's not. Like I feel like a lot of people start freaking out. So I kind of just start with meal plans, and then if you want to transition to macros, here are your macros, and go from there. But I always like to have like a good baseline, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. So as part of your program and the way you train your clients, what are some things that you focus with? I know you talk a lot about like stress management and mindset practices. Like, what do you focus with that?
Well, this sounds bad to say, but I always like sell them what they want and give them what they need on the other end. So, I sell them to like, okay, we're going to be strength training. We're going to be in a calorie deficit. You're going to be tracking your macros and this and that. Going for walks, that kind of things, like the nuts and bolts of what you need to make progress.
Right.
But on the other end, when they actually start working with me, it is usually a complete mindset overhaul. So I am having them focus on stress management, but really mind management more than anything. So I call it their emotional fitness, because we know if your mindset is not in a good place, and I'm sure you have clients who come to you with the all or nothing mentality. They feel like if they're not perfect, then they're not, like everything is gonna go to hell. Very, very hard on themselves, a lot of negative self-talk. So really having to break these long, I guess like inherent belief systems that they've been carrying around for them with a very long time.
Yeah, I totally agree. A lot of people just look at like the outside work, like, the working out, the food, but it's really all in your head at the end of the day. Like 99% of the work is in your head.
Well, and also it's like, do you even believe that you can do it? And a lot of people don't. And so they self-sabotage. And like it can happen with anything, right? Oh, Christina trucks. Oh my gosh, I've seen all these people like so yeah, like they've had so many repeated failed efforts with prior dieting experiences that it makes them believe like, this isn't possible for me. So anytime they slip up, it's like, oh, well, there I go again, more evidence that I can't do this. And it's just not true. I say it's not a lack of willpower. It's not a lack of self-control or discipline or motivation. It's a mindset issue. And it wasn't you, it was the diet.
Yeah. Like, because the diet, the way that you were brought up or whatever that affected, the way that you view weight loss or fitness or anything.
Well, and the other thing that I find to be very common, and I don't think is talked about nearly enough, we're always discussing the fear of failure. So they're not getting started, or they are slipping up because they are afraid that they're going to fail. And I was like, no, I think a lot of people are afraid that they're going to succeed. So they self-sabotage once they get close. And it's something that comes up with quite a few of my clients, like as they kind of get to this like place where maybe they have slipped up in the past, that's when the negative chatter starts to creep in, because your brain is always trying to keep you safe. So even your discomfort is more comfortable than what is on the other side, like that unknown. So like, okay, if I do reach this goal, am I going to have to keep this up forever? How are people going to treat me? Like, am I going to lose my friend circle? So yeah, it's a very threatening to the brain. So even though you say you want the specific goal, when you notice that you're getting close, it's like, oh, hold up, this doesn't feel comfortable. So like now I'm going to do whatever I can, even if it's subconscious, to bring me back to that old state.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it is going to be unconsciously, like not really thinking about it. And then you get close to it and one thing changes in your life because you got close to that goal. And then after that, it's kind of like, well, I knew that wasn't going to work. Like, but no, it's nothing. Like you can get there. Yeah. I feel like that's not talked about at all whatsoever. And
very rarely.
Yeah, it's a big one for sure. A lot of people get scared to get to their goal. I was too. I mean, not gonna lie, stepping on the stage for a bodybuilding event, that I've never thought that I would do that ever in my entire life until I had the opportunity. And I was like, yeah, why not? Let's go. I mean, it was the most uncomfortable thing in my life. I will probably never do it again. I'm never gonna say I'm never gonna do it again because I don't know. But it was definitely out there and stepping
out of your comfort zone.
Oh gosh, the whole bikini, the whole posing, but I got, I know how to pose now, which is great for pictures.
Yes.
So for my content, it's great. And I've learned so much throughout the process that now I could teach my clients everything to not do that I did. And also I was in the program that was very old school. So it was very much like, drink 3 gallons of water today so that we could shed all that off. And I'm like, that makes no sense. Like, why? And then the day of the competition, you're only drinking Sprite and eating candy. Like, what?
Gotta fill up those glycogen stores so you get your pump.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely
Oh, it's so
interesting
funny.
to learn all of that and then see people, get to their goals and they're like, oh my gosh, like what's gonna happen now? And you could just move on and, learn from there. It's
Yeah,
really cool.
absolutely.
So what's your favorite thing about coaching that you love?
Oh gosh. That's such a good question. Like I have really wonderful clients, and I know everyone says like my clients are the best. I was like, my clients are the best. I think like I do, in my opinion, a really good job of connecting with my clients on a much deeper level. So it's not just about the macros and the workouts. Again, like I really try to get to know them as an individual. Like I see them as a whole person, not just a number. And I think that's been like my favorite part is just the amazing connections that I have created with people who I would have never had the opportunity of meeting. So that first and
So
foremost,
cool.
it really is like, I mean, people who have now become like my good friends, like whether they are current clients, and I'm not saying I have that with everybody, but a lot of them I do. And even if they are no longer, excuse me, a client, like I still have that friendship with them.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. And then just seeing the transformation and not even the physical. It's like at this point, I don't even care as much about the physical transformation.
Oh,
It's the icing on the cake, but like see them transforming from like this, caterpillar into this butterfly. And
yes.
I think that the mindset shifts, like we were talking about earlier, that's the most
Oh, I know.
rewarding by
It's
far.
it's the best. Like the physical goes with it 100%. It's really cool to see, your body transform or their body transform. But I feel like when you first start working with them and they're super shy or they're scared of the gym, and then by the time they're done, you're like, who are you? Like, are you even?
You're like unrecognizable,
Yeah.
outside and inside.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then making friends, like we have some friends that we do a yearly trip together because it was, a coincidence and we just clicked. And now my
Yeah.
fiance plays with her husband. Like everybody kind of just connected and it's been super cool. So
It's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. Cool. So what are some tips you would recommend for somebody that just starts their fitness journey, right? Like it's the new year, a lot of people start their fitness journey, and they have no idea where to start. Like, where would you guide them?
Well, start small. Do not try to overhaul everything at once because, going back to the brain, it's going to freak out
Yep.
because, too many changes and your brain can't manage it. So that's where everyone wants to start is like, how can I go as hard as possible? Really hit the ground running, firing on all cylinders, 0 to 100. And it's like, no, you crash and burn. Like you've probably done that before, So everyone's like, we've heard it, slow and sustainable wins the race, be the tortoise, not the hare. But that is the unsexy advice that I'm going to keep repeating until I'm blue in the face. You have to start with something that is, somewhat small, that is achievable, that you can do consistently, and then build that self-belief that like, oh, look, I can keep promises to myself. I can do hard things. I can overcome resistance.
Yep.
And then that makes you believe that, this is going to be possible rather than you start some very aggressive program and you're doing too much too soon and you can't stick to it. And then you just repeat the hi, Craig. um, but then you just like, you keep repeating the experience. So yeah, start small. And maybe that's like, I'm just going to go for a walk every day. I'm going to get a win under my belt from the get-go. And then that momentum will carry on the rest of the day and you'll start to make better choices. And then from there, like once that becomes a habit, once, it's not so challenging for you, then you can add the next thing.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like a lot of people, especially with the new year, they go like all in, like 75 hard, or I'm gonna do this and this and this, and like it lasts what, 2-3 weeks, because it's too much at once. Like maybe for us that we have been doing this for years and we start, really, really hard, it's not gonna make much of a difference in our lifestyle because we are already doing 90% of it. But for somebody that's just starting out, it's like a walk is already a huge thing, or eating a breakfast is already a huge thing. Like,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. Starting small. You guys?
Yeah.
Yes,
And you know, but also start with something that is going to perhaps move the needle a little bit. So people will say like, oh, start by drinking more water. Okay, yeah, that's great and all, but is that really going to be the thing that helps you to start losing some weight? Or I mean, maybe you have a little bit more energy, but yeah, like more movement, maybe start tracking your calories so you actually get the awareness of how much have I been eating? And then you can make the adjustments from there.
yeah, 100%. I feel like that's one of the biggest things when you first start out how much you're eating and you're plugging it in, and it's like your first time ever doing it, you realize, at least for me, it was like, oh, I eat like crap. Like literally, I shouldn't be eating any of this. But you don't realize it if you don't track it because you just eat.
Oh, people eat way much more than they think because it's the whole bite, lick, and taste issue. You know, like they have no awareness. We're just on autopilot the majority of the day. So, oh, like the extra lick off the peanut butter spoon, or, you know, I don't have kids, but the extra couple bites off my kids' plates. It's like those calories add
The
up
worst
real
one.
fast.
That's the
You know,
worst part
yeah.
of the experience. Or the snacks in the snack drawer that are meant for the kids, but you end up eating them. Yeah, that's us. Sorry.
Let's be real. You're the one eating those, not the kids. Yeah. And I always tell people, I was like, if it's a problem for you, like get it out of the house for a period of time. The kids aren't going to remember. Like they're not, I mean, you know, maybe for a day, like, oh, I want the snacks back, but go get them something else that maybe isn't as tempting for you. And I don't like that to be a long-term strategy. I do feel like it's kind of a band-aid, so to speak. You know,
Right.
ultimately, I want to build self-trust in people that they can be around any food and it's not overly tempting. You know, they're not going to binge on it in a weak moment. Like it still happens from time to time, but like that's now the exception, not the norm. So yeah, like, but I think in the interim or in the short term, how can you set your environment up for success so that it doesn't, so that you're not relying on willpower and self-control. So if you feel like, sorry, I'm seeing a comment, perfection is not the goal. Yes. And no, perfection is never the goal. I would practice, right? It's all about practice. So like you really have to, you know, give yourself the permission to practice and slip up. And that is how you gain the awareness, the experience, and then you can do better the next time. But yeah, I think in the beginning, you know, if you do have to keep the snacks in the house, okay, can I put them where I can't see them? Can I put them on the bottom level of the shelf, or you know, put them out in the garage? So out of sight, out of mind.
That's exactly what we do. So we have a little snack drawer. Because, like, if you guys have kids, you know how it is. If you leave all the snacks out, they will be gone in the next 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
What I do, and he probably hears me say this now, so I'm done for, but he probably knows too, just doesn't say it. We have like a little, you know, the little things that you put your forks and knives, like organizer, right? So I bought one of these in a snack drawer and I just fill these up. When that is full, then everything goes into the garage, which is much further to get to, right? So, and it's the same thing for us as well. Like, yeah, we could snack on these, but when you're looking at it, there's only two, you know, jerkies, or there's only 2 packs of cookies, right? There's not 15. Everything else is
That's a
in
good
the garage.
idea.
Yeah, and when that's empty, then we refill it. So that's how we do it. Like it takes a lot more effort to go into the garage. I feel like if you're going there to get a snack, you're thinking about it. And by the time you get there, you're probably like, you know what, I really don't need this, you know, rather than just opening a drawer and finding it.
Yes, like how can you create friction to make it more challenging?
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. And yeah, so what are some tips you would say to women wanting to be their most confident self this year?
Start keeping the promises that you make to yourself. So going back to what we said earlier, I mean, confidence is bred by taking action and following through on it. So if you want to feel more confident, do what you say you are going to do. And again, like start small so it doesn't feel like this really overwhelming, insurmountable mountain that you have to climb where you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. But yeah, how can I come up with a couple of key things that feel doable for me so now I can create those wins every day? I call it the pillow test. So how I filter like all of my decisions is when my head hits the pillow at the end of the night, how do I want to feel about myself? Do I want to fall asleep being like proud that I went to the gym, I got my walk, I hit my macros, I did my journaling, like I was a kind human, you know?
Right.
Or, and this has happened to me before, I go to bed and there's that like a little bit of disappointment that I didn't do what I was going to say again.
Yeah.
And that slowly chips away at your self-confidence.
Oh, for sure. And I feel like a lot of people think of confidence too as a physical thing rather than everything else that's going on.
Well, and the thing is, like, and no, that's so true. And sometimes you get the physical, you reach the physical goal and you still don't feel that confident because confidence really is an internal job. And I will say at my leanest or most fit, yes, I was checking the boxes to make that happen, but there were still areas of my life where I was out of personal integrity. So I'll use business as an example. I hated getting on video. So I had business coaches like, Marci, you got to get on Instagram stories and like show your face. And I was so resistant to it. And so I would be like, today's going to be the day. Today's going to be the day. And then today would not be the day. And so I would go to bed like, oh, I didn't get on Instagram stories again. So that broke down my self-confidence. And then that leaked out onto other people. Like I would literally be so upset at myself that I was moody. I was irritable. But when I started to show up more, get out of my comfort zone, keep the promises, then that started to build this like really like unshakable confidence that, you know, like now I feel like I can do, I don't want to say anything, but I mean, I'm getting there, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, I feel like, and I've told my clients this all the time, like, yeah, I looked amazing when I stepped on stage. Not like I wanted to, but great, right? But I was probably the least confident of my entire life. And people are like, well, how is that possible? You look so confident. I'm like, I look so confident, but I'm not. You know?
Big difference. Well, and the other thing too is like if you were waiting to feel confident until you reach a certain, you know, look, physique, whatever goal, whatever that is, like you're going to be waiting a long time because it's not going to happen overnight. So you build the confidence by doing the work to help you achieve the goal.
100%. And it's more, and it goes back to the mindset. It goes back to what's in your head. And if you're, you know, talking bad about yourself and negative self-talk and self-doubt and all these horrible things that we do to ourselves every single day, you're not going to gain the confidence. But if you're putting yourself up, I'm reading a book, I think it's called The Yes Attitude. It's literally just about attitude and starting your day. Like looking at a water bottle, like is it half empty or half full? The way that you describe it makes a big difference in your head.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As stupid as this.
Well, and that kind of like goes back to like, that's like, you know, the optimist versus pessimist, but also the like the growth versus fixed mindset. So a lot of people come into some type of journey that they are on with a very fixed mindset based on past experiences and, you know, what they believe about themselves. Like, oh, I could never do that. Or if I mess up, I'm a failure. And it's like, no, I mean, that's just a fixed mindset. So you need to cultivate a growth mindset where you see failures as learning lessons and opportunities to improve, to get better, to know that like, you know, I can develop new skills. My traits aren't fixed, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, my mindset really is everything.
Yeah. It's the big thing that a lot of people don't talk about. They only talk about the physical aspects, but it's so much more. It's getting better. Like as the years go by, it's definitely getting better, but it's not where it should be.
No, but we're doing the work to spread the message, right?
Yeah, 100%. Cool. Well, I love this. This was awesome. Do you have anything else you want to add, or where can they find you? Because I'm
No,
sure.
I think this is a great talk. I don't have anything else to add. Where you can find me. So Marci Nevin on Instagram, that's where all my content is. And then I also have the Decades of Strength podcast, which you talked about when we first got started. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. I love this podcast. It was awesome.
Aw,
I learned a lot.
good.
And it was a very good pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Of course, anytime.
All right. Talk to you later.
Peace.
Bye.